Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello. As always, today we're going to talk about different spiritual states, and today our topic is Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai, literally meaning the mountain of hatred. We all heard the biblical story, how after 7 weeks, 49 days after the exodus from Egypt, an entire people, a few millions of people, approach Mount Sinai. And there they receive the Torah. There's even, in Hebrew, it's called Ma'amad Har Sinai, meaning the state of Mount Sinai. So what we'd like to ask about today, or scrutinize, are the spiritual states that a person goes through since the exodus from Egypt, crossing the Red Sea, and reaching Mount Sinai. Why 7 weeks? Why was it so important? Well, the complete departure from Egypt, this is what it includes. The number 7 is repeated many times. It represents a degree, or the most important part of any degree. All in all, there are 10 degrees, 7 of them are the gist ones, and 3 additional ones. In spiritual development, what is a degree? It is a degree of the attainment of the upper world. It is the revelation of one's ego, rising above it and revealing the Creator. So it's like 10 layers of the ego? Yeah, because on the 7th day they approach the Red Sea, the final sea, literally meaning, and then the 7 weeks. Where did these 7 weeks come from? It's because they have to perform certain work in coming out of Egypt. Otherwise, coming out of Egypt is what? You simply get up and go. It's inner spiritual work during which a person has to acknowledge the exile that he was in exile from the quality of the Creator, and how does he now have to come closer to that quality. So it is a very serious recognition. So, okay, they came out of Egypt, they came out of their ego, and what now? Now, they have to understand what is ahead of them. What do they have to head toward? Gradually, what is revealed to them is, what does truly coming out of the ego mean? It's not simply disconnecting from it, but it's the gradual, even gradually inverting the ego into altruism, meaning all the desires that they had, in which they existed or by which they existed in a state called the Egyptian exile. It is tremendous ego that grew in a person under the influence of his existence in Egypt, as he was in this spiritual slavery. He acknowledged how far he is from the true perception of reality, how far he is from the truth, from attaining the Creator. And this pushes a person so much to the point where he cries out that he no longer wants to be in this state, and from there on begins his spiritual release from the Egyptian exile, from slavery. A person gradually rises from that, willing to completely turn his back on his ego, so to speak. That's called the crossing of the Red Sea, but literally in Hebrew it means the final sea, Yam Suf, from the word Sof in Hebrew, the final sea. And then he continues in order to come to the recognition of what does it mean altogether to change himself. For this are needed 7 weeks that go by, that characterize a person's ascent above his previous state. He's willing, he's ready to accept a methodology that will change him, even though that it is a very complicated method, it's a very non-simple realization of it. But a person, he's ready for it, and therefore he is in such a lengthy process, what we call 7 weeks. 7 times 7, 49, and then only on the 50th day does he attain Mount Sinai. And it's not a mountain, and it's not the desert, but these are all, how to say, well, it's in the form of a story, the way that it's told, but actually it's the acknowledgement of a person's inner state, where a person acknowledges his inner state, where Mount Sinai is his tremendous ego that he's standing in front of, not being able to do anything against it, about it. At the top of Mount Sinai is the Creator, who has created this ego by himself, that controls it, and if necessary, develops it in a person, in order for a person to eventually understand how to work with this ego. And how should he invert it into its opposite qualities of love, bestowal, connection, and so on? By the way, it's interesting that as a person comes out of the ego, and then there are the 49 degrees, that's how they're called, the gates of impurity, meaning he delves deeper into his ego. So it's not that he came out and that's that. To the contrary, 49 degrees, steps of this impurity that he reveals on himself, and then on the 50th day, and it says Mount Sinai, Sinah in Hebrew, Sinai, literally meaning Sinah, hate in Hebrew, and mountain, Har in Hebrew, comes from the word Hilhurim, contemplations. What were the contemplations about? It's simply that looking at that hate that fills a person toward the quality of bestowal, the quality of love, the quality that we call Creator. No one can believe that it is possible to overcome it in any way, that it's possible to climb that mountain, to overcome this tremendous ego in all of its manifestations. And therefore, here, actually, to stand at the foot of Mount Sinai, it means to feel that you can't do anything. You lift your hands as if you give up. What happens, happens. You're not in control of your ego. You're not in control of your nature. You're not master of it. It completely controls you and does with you whatever it feels like. Mount Sinai, it's hate toward the quality of the Creator, the quality of bestowal and love, or is it hate toward those people that surround you, or it's one and the same? One and the same. Doesn't matter. It's like in our world. We attribute qualities or project qualities onto people, and that way we like these, don't like those. We don't relate to the flesh. We relate to the quality that person manifests before us, as if acts it out like an artist, like an actor. And therefore we like him, dislike him, and so on. There was this event that later on formed the entire nation, or if we're talking about a single person, it forms a person's spiritual development. So turns out that they stood there for a year. Why? Why did they stand at the foot of Mount Sinai for a year? It's not a matter of years or time. It's complicated. We can't say how was it precisely in accordance with what is explained in the Torah according to how we understand what it says there. By the way, there is no precise place. Well, it says that it's where Mount Sinai is now, that this is actually the place where it is, that this mountain exists now as well, and that on it there is some house of prayer, not a Jewish one. But actually, there's nothing holy about this mountain. Anyone can climb it, can bring his herd there. Doesn't matter. It's not like a mountain that the temple is built on, because the temple is built on a mountain that's enlightened, meaning that it represents a corrected ego. And Mount Sinai, it's simply the manifestation of the ego that still has to be corrected, and therefore there's nothing holy about it, and therefore there are no one considers it holy or special, and no one demands it in any way, and it's not some kind of touristic place. What does it mean that the Creator was on the mountain top and they were at the foot of the mountain? Well, this mountain represents that great big ego that exists in mankind, that mankind has to correct in order to allegorically from the foot of the mountain to reveal the Creator that's at the top of the mountain. What's interesting is that at the state of Mount Sinai, a person reaches a state where inside of him there are both Moses and Aaron and the Cohens and the mixed multitude of Rav, the Egyptians that ran away, fled. Can you imagine all of this? And all of them have to unite, all of these, because there's the condition in order to receive the Torah, the instruction. As it says, either all of you are in mutual guarantee, or this will be, meaning either you connect, or this will be your burial place. How can such different desires in a person connect? It happens for a certain instant, and afterwards we practically see that it does not oblige anyone to anything. So it's like a symbol that it happened once, so it will become revealed in the corporeal, material world. Any spiritual state, at least once, in some way, has to be manifested in our world. Later we'll talk about the reception of the Torah itself on a different show maybe, but spiritually wise, what is that? A person gets some kind of instruction, an explanation of how to work with his ego. The reception of the Torah means that a person receives a certain force, that in him a certain force becomes revealed that helps him rise above his ego.
That's it. And
the conditions for receiving, these instructions, Torah in Hebrew comes from the word hora'ah, instruction. In order to get it, you need to abide by the law of mutual responsibility. What is that? If you want to receive the Torah, meaning that you want to start learning it on yourself, there's no other place to study it but on yourself. As you gradually, from a small egoist, you turn into a great big egoist, and then from a small altruist into a great big altruist. To accept this method of correction is possible only after you understand that you're willingly headed toward changing yourself, to become a spiritual person, meaning who has the quality of love and bestowal toward everyone. What is the law of mutual guarantee or responsibility, that they're each other's guarantors? The thing is that on the lowest level, if we want to start acquiring a spiritual quality of bestowal and love, we need to implement this quality inside ourselves in the form of mutual responsibility, meaning where there is a group of people that try between them to create the quality of mutual love, help, meaning from the bottom of their heart to be all for one and one for all, meaning everyone's responsible for everyone, and if it happens in a single person's desire, A single person can't do that. He has to feel himself as a part of society. All of this is realized in society. So a person realizes himself, but in relation to other people. Yes. Then there's a condition called we shall do and we shall hear. What is that? Meaning that as we try to implement, realize the quality of love and bestowal inside ourselves, we are obliged to realize this quality of bestowal and love between us, and only then, to the extent, to the measure to which we realize this quality inside ourselves, between ourselves, only then can we acknowledge this quality, and what does it give us, what does it reveal to us, what does it change in us. What does it mean that first a person has to do and then he'll hear? To realize it, the quality of bestowal and love in our relations as much as you can. And what is revealed to him then? What does he hear? Then we start acknowledging what does this quality of bestowal and love really mean? What is a spiritual quality? So it's already to feel, to hear, okay. What does it mean to make a covenant with the Creator? After a person hears, that's already the covenant with the Creator. What covenant? Covenant. What covenant are we talking about? Covenant means that after this, we already have some mutual conditions that talk about what do I commit to do for the sake of the Creator, and what am I asking the Creator to do for me in order to be able to realize my qualities of bestowal, love, connection between us and Him. So it's possible to say that a person performs certain acts of connection in the group, after which, well, first of all, it happens without any specific feeling, but then when he gets the quality of bestowal, he starts feeling it. It's called we shall hear, and he enters a state of equivalence of form with the Creator, which is already considered a covenant on a certain level. But first of all, you act without tasting, feeling, with your eyes shut. A person achieves a degree where working, serving the Creator becomes the purpose of his existence. Meaning it does not matter what does he feel, what does he expect, what will he have in the future. Doesn't exist. Meaning there's no time, there's no space, there's no nothing, but only here and now, the maximum good or bestowal through people to the Creator, this is what I want to implement. And when a person performs these actions without tasting anything, getting anything in return, his ego gets no reward. Then such a person, he has doubts called hilhurim. He comes to this mountain of doubts. Hilhurim from the word ha, mountain, and he starts thinking, do I need it? Don't I? What is it? What will it give me? And he starts hating this state, and that's called the mountain of Sinai, of hatred. Yes, all of the contradictions of his egoistic qualities are becoming revealed, and practically they do not allow a person to advance in the direction of bestowal, of connection, and here a person starts hating these qualities, his nature, egoistic nature. Here he begins to fight himself. So it's a horrific state that a person, he works for years against his nature and gets no reward in return. His reward is that he can act against his nature. So the work itself has to become the reward. Yes. Last question. What's the difference between the nation before and after receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai? Before receiving the Torah, the nation is simply considered an ingathering of people. But why? They were called Israel already. No, they were called that according to their natural aspiration. What were they drawn to? But actually, what does it mean? They didn't know, they didn't understand, and therefore you can't say anything here about their spiritual state. It was simply minimum. They felt in an egoistic slavery, relatively. After they entered Egypt, and then their efforts to come out of it. Now that they're approaching Mount Sinai, meaning that before them there is this need to accept the Torah, meaning the upper light, the upper force of the quality of bestowal and love, to accept this quality and start acting with its help in order to correct themselves. Now, gradually, revealed to them is the purpose of this light and Torah that has to gradually rework the entire nature of man and all of his 620 qualities, to redo them from egoistic qualities of reception for yourself, self-gratification, to the quality of bestowal in order to bestow and fulfill others. So Abraham gathered around him people that simply aspired for this quality of bestowal, and therefore they were called Israel, Yashar Kel. After that, they started inquiring themselves, their ego, which means that they've entered Egypt, and after they came out of Egypt, only there begins the correction of this ego. They get the instruction called the Torah, and there only it begins, because before that there was no correction. That's the difference. Yeah. Thank you very much. Today we talked about Mount Sinai, the mountain of both contemplations and hatred. Thank you very much. Till next time, all the best.